Hey everyone, it's Brian here with the games that I beat in September, October of 2020. I thought I'd lay them out here, and it surprised me how many I actually got through. So I'm going to have to go through these pretty fast. I'll comment on the ones that I really, really liked, but I want to keep this shorter than my other ones. So we'll start with the Nes stack right here. Up first, Monster in My Pocket. Very short game, very fun. Graphics are good, music's good, Konami-based platformer. Not hard, but once you learn the patterns, and very, very good game with the rockin' music. Next, we have Toki, Going 8-Bit. This was an arcade game. It had a Genesis port and also a Switch release later last year. This is the NES version. A little tougher than Monster in My Pocket. You play as an ape. You shoot up, down, or up and right, and you get some powers and you get a helmet to protect yourself from a hit on the head and some other power-ups. A little more challenging, not too hard though, very playable and very, very fun. Next we have Fester's Quest. I didn't play this much. I think I might have rented it once as a kid. I remember it being not knowing where to go, but this time I read the manual, looked at a video or two online about what to expect from the game, and I was able to get through it on my first time playing it. It is tough. You don't have a password, and there's no checkpoints. But when you beat the bosses, they do stay dead. The only bad thing is you got to start back at the beginning, and you have to travel the whole way to the next boss. That takes a little while, but once you learn where everything is, it's not too challenging. It's just very time-consuming. It took me like all day to beat, but I was able to beat it, and I really like it. I like the music. There are faults to it, but it's not as bad as you hear. And it was good for Halloween. Next, we have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the original NES game. My cousin had this game, and I played it, and I could never get too far. I think I got to where you have to collect the ropes, and you swing across the buildings, and I never got further than that. This time, I was able to go through it, not too difficult until I got to inside the Technodrome, the final hallway before you fight the boss. The final hallway before you fight Shredder. That hallway took me a lot of time to beat, and because of that, I had to replay the game a few times. But once I did finally beat that, I was able to beat Shredder and beat the game finally, and I'm glad to have beaten all the Turtles games on the NES now. And actually, pretty fun game. I do like that game. Next up, we have Strider. My different cousin had this game. It was one of the only games he had for the NES. I remember not knowing what to do on this game. This time, I read the manual and was able to play it and beat it. It's not very long, not very challenging. You get unlimited continues. It's very Metroid-like, where you can explore and get different power-ups, and you go back and you can go to different areas in the game, get different powers. There is a wall jump that's the most difficult wall jump to use I've ever used, and there's some glitches in it that make it very awkward, but it is a good game. Taxanado, and this was on a very, very enjoyable game. The music's great, the look of it's very great with the brown and earth tones. Role-playing like game. Very fun. You kind of start at the bottom of the tree and you work your way up to towns inside the tree and you go into the branches. Very fun. Very moody. Very good atmosphere. Battle on Olympus. This is a great game. I really like this game. It's one of my top NES games now. I did read the manual, and I learned about one trick to beating this game. There's a retry and continue. So in this game, you get currency called olives, and you have to buy your special items from gods with olives. And when you die, you lose all your olives, and you have to farm them again. And it's very easy to die. But if you retry with all your olives at the last save point. So the key to this game is going to the gods as soon as you can, learning where they're at, and saving your game. Then progress. And if you die, just go to retry. You won't lose all your olives. You'll just start back at the god. So it's not nearly as hard as it could be if you don't do that. So I was able to beat this game. It took me all day. I think I used a walkthrough for one thing. I forget what it was. Just to keep myself, to make sure I was doing the right things. But other than that, it was very straightforward. I just used that to keep on the straight path. But yeah, it's a very fun game. The music's great, the graphics are excellent, and I recommend this game. If you use the retry instead of you find the gods and use retry instead of continue, you will keep your olives. And that's the main sticking point in this game. You want to keep your olives. Another one of my favorites is this game has become one of my top favorites on the NES. Rygar. I never knew how to play this game. I read the manual, and kind of at the beginning I kind of grinded to get more power because there's an experience system and a level up system. I did that to get more life, and then I went through this game and learned about it, and it's very, very fun. It's short enough to play. There's no continues, so you have to play through it on one playthrough, but the map's small enough to remember, and it's very fun with good music, kind of graphic glitches, but it is very good. Next, Gremlins 2. This is another game that I rented back when I was growing up, and I remember it being a lot harder than it was this time. This time I was able to play through it. It took me a few tries, a few continues, because you get unlimited, on the last stage, because that last part, Gremlin boss, kind of kicked my butt for a while until I learned where to stand and where to play. Very fun game. The music is excellent. It has that Sunsoft music on the NES. That's very awesome. Now I need to actually watch Gremlins 2. I've never seen Gremlins 2. Next up, we have Tiny Toons. This was another platformer game. Very good music as well. Konami. Very much like a Super Mario Bros. 3 kind of feel. Not nearly as many power-ups. The one thing I don't like about this game, you can't switch between your characters at will. You have to find a balloon. And you kind of don't know which one to get, and you can't go back once you use that balloon. I wish they would have inserted like a select button to switch between the characters. You can have Dizzy Devil, Buster, Daffy, and I think that's it. There might be another one. But it's pretty straightforward until there are some challenge spikes near the end, but if you stick through it, you will get through it, because you do have unlimited continues, I think. Yeah, it's very fun. Kabuki Quantum Fighter, this was a lot more challenging. It's not a long game, but once you learn the levels and go through it, you can get through it. I think it took me a long time to beat it, but that's because I have first playthroughs and all that stuff. The graphics are good, music's good as always, and of these NES games I'm talking about. It's made by HAL, or it's published by HAL, but I think it was made by, I want to say the kid who did G.I. Joe for NES, which is another good NES game I beat either earlier this year or last year. You get like chips to use. It's a weird story. Like the chips you can switch to give you different powers and stuff. Very fun game. Codename Viper. I did beat this game on easy. I had a hard time, other than easy, to beat this game. It's, from what I understand, it's like Rolling Thunder. I've never played that, but you duck into doors to avoid enemies and you come back out. The last boss gave me a little bit tough until I think I watched a video and I realized you can just get up to him and fire. So once I did that, I was able to beat him, because I was trying to jump his bullets, and being one-hit deaths, that's not the way to go. You just rapidly fire at him from up close, and you'll beat him before he can kill you. Because you do take like 1 or 2 hits, and you can get upgrades to increase your life to up to 3 hits, I think. But yeah, it's a fun game. The graphics are very good, music's good. Yeah, another one I rented in back in the day, but never actually beat until now, so I'm glad. Monster Party, I played this for Halloween. I do remember this game from back in when I was a kid. I rented it. Never got far. I thought it was a lot harder than it was. Kind of a thing of today. Now that I actually sit down and play these games, now I'm an adult, I can actually go through them. Monster Party was one that's oozing with weirdness and charm. I wouldn't say charm, but weirdness. Basically, you go through the stages, beat 2 bosses or more, and go to the next stage, and then you get to the end. Weird bosses, kind of cool bat mechanic, the physics that you hit projectiles back at enemies, and you can turn into, knowing when to turn into the monster to shoot long-range projectiles at enemies, which bosses to use the monster on and which to use the bat, is very good, and it's very fun. Karnaugh, this is one I rented too from Video Visions, or I remember playing it, maybe on an emulator either. I don't know if I rented this one. I think I did play it on an emulator or something. Never put the time into it. I did this time and beat it on my, I think, first time I went through it, but it took me a while. I was noticing when I did beat it, there's things, oh yeah, I could do better if I got to certain items. It's very glitchy. There are some glitches to it. Very weird. You play as like this Russian circus performer. Overall, okay game. Blaster Master, this game, I think it took me a few days to beat, and they were all-day sessions because you have to learn. There's no continues. You get, or there's a limited continues, I think 4, and there's no password system, so you have to learn the map, and that's fine. I think I went through once, got pretty far, and then I got glitched into a wall and had to reset. Went through again, got a little further, and then I glitched again and had to reset. And the 3rd or 4th time I played it, I was actually able to progress and beat the game finally. And it was tough. It was like 3 or 4 all-day play sessions. I left the TV on and did something else when it came back to it so I could continue. The trick to this game is do not lose your weapons. You want to keep that powered up, maximum powered up blaster for the bosses. And that means going through the dungeons without getting hit. But once you do get to the bosses, there's a trick where you can hold down the B button and shoot with A. And as long as you're holding the B button, you always focus forward, and you can strafe left and right while firing forward without. Otherwise, when you move left, you'll turn left and you'll fire left. So you want to hold. So what I did was I when I was on a boss, I just rubber banded the B button down, and so I could just tap A fast. And so that B button was always down, and I call it strafe. So as long as you're strafing and holding down that B button, you can concentrate on dodging and fire those at the bosses, and they become much more manageable. Otherwise, if you fight them with a weak weapon, it will be very, very hard. A lot of the bosses gave me a hard time. The frog boss took me a few tries. After each try, I had to go back and upgrade my weapon to full, and that was kind of annoying. So other than some annoyances like that, it was a very fun game. I'm glad that I went through, learned the map and all that stuff. Now when I play it again, I'll remember the map hopefully and be able to go through a little bit faster this time. So yeah, Blaster Master, great game. One that I'm surprised I liked as much as I did was Goonies 2. The music, the gameplay, the graphics are all good. There's a little jankiness into the first-person modes when you go into the doors, and you're in these first-person modes like Friday the 13th or Fester's Quest, and you have to hit the wall to make things appear with a hammer or your fist. The trick is the hammer will always work on either the ceiling or the front wall in front of you, and it will reveal either a hole or a door. So you want to only use the hammer on the wall in front of you or the ceiling. Your fist will work on either the wall, either the front wall or I think that's it. Not the ceiling, but the front wall. So you only have to really use the hammer on the wall in front of you and the ceiling, and your fist on the left, right, or center walls. But basically, you have to go through and find the Goonies, and once you find all 5 or 6 Goonies, I think it's 5, you can rescue the mermaid and beat the game. There are the Fratellis in this game. They're in like suits, and there's Ma Fratelli near the end where the mermaid is. And yeah, it's a fun game. I do really like it. There's no bosses, but it's challenging enough just figuring out where to go. There's like a left and back and front side of the map, which is until you figure it out. It still doesn't quite make sense, but the map is small enough to know where to go. What to now? We'll do Super Nintendo because of these. I don't have as many here. We'll start with Boogerman, a pick and flick adventure. This is also on Sega Genesis, and this is a very good looking game. If you think of like a very cartoony style, much like Earthworm Jim, the animation's very good. There are some you gotta wait for the animation, like when he picks his nose. You can pick your nose, you can fart, you can burp on enemies, and you get plungers to, I forget what the plungers do, but anyway, not too long of a game. I think there is a or maybe there isn't a password system. I think there is. But I did beat this. Very fun. The first few levels are very long, and the rest are, once you learn the game, it becomes more manageable. I do like Boogerman. Next we have Lost Vikings. This is a good puzzle platformer. Basically, each Viking has a different power. You have to get all 3 of them to the ending using their special powers, like the one can use a shield and float in the air and block attacks, and the other one can run and jump real high, and the other can attack. Use your only means to attack. So you got to use their different abilities to get keys to open doors to go to the end of the level. I think there's like 5 or 6 levels per world, and then you get warped to another world. And the boss you got at the end, you have to use all your abilities to beat them. Because the Vikings are kidnapped from their village into a spaceship. That's the whole story. Very fun. There is a sequel, which I didn't want to play right away, because this one took me a long time to beat, a week or so to beat. Next, we have Tiny Toons Adventures, Buster Bust Loose. Very Sonic-like running game. You run forward, and you can dash up walls, and you can do this kickflip to attack. Very fun game, good music because of Konami. Challenging spike near the end of the game, and near the train level of the game took me a while to get through. Not very long after that, but it is fun. Next up, we have Goof Troop. This is like a puzzle game. It is co-op. I only play by myself, though. You have to use different items to go through this world map and use those items to progress through the stage, and then you fight a boss at the end and go to the next stage. And when you use an item, you drop it where you left it, and you go and if you go back, you can pick it up. And so if you go to a screen that you need that other item, you have to go back and get it. Fun game. This was actually developed by Shinji Mikami, the Resident Evil guy. And yeah, pretty cool. All these games have great music I'm talking about, by the way. Next, what do we do? We'll do Game Boy Advance Wario Land 4. I beat this on the DS, but never beat, or on the 3DS, because I have it for 3DS, for 3D Ambassador program, I think it was. Ambassador program. So I beat it this time on Game Boy Advance. Not much more to say. It's a Wario Land game. Very good graphics. Very fun. Super Mario Advance 2. This is Super Mario World. I went through again. This time I went straight to Bowser without doing all the worlds. I just went the fastest way to him and beat it. But it's Super Mario World. It's basically that. And they did change the sprite of Luigi, I think. Or they put Luigi on the map with you, I think. And it's kind of weird. I don't know if the sprite is different or not. I could be thinking of Super Mario All-Stars with Super Mario World. This is Super Mario Advance. This was a launch game for the Game Boy Advance. This is basically a remake of Super Mario Bros. 2 for the NES, one of my favorite NES games. And yeah, went through, and yeah, it's fun. They added some voice samples and some red coins you could get, or some items you got during the level. This is Super Mario Advance 3, Yoshi's Island, or Yoshi's Island Super Mario Advance 3. It's Yoshi's Island, and I beat this on the Super Nintendo, and I beat it on the 3DS Ambassador release, which was released on the 3DS, and I beat it now for the cartridge on Game Boy Advance. Mario vs. Donkey Kong, puzzle platformer like Donkey Kong on the Game Boy. Fun game. A few stages took me a while. Yeah, pretty cool. Let's get on to Game Boy Color. Super Mario Bros. Deluxe. This is a Game Boy Color version of Super Mario Bros. With a world map. I went through, and it's cool. You can save after every level, I think, so that's nice. Because Super Mario Bros. Can get challenging near the end. Lucky Luke, very fun platformer. The only thing I didn't like is B and A were switched to jump and shoot. Very good graphics, good music. It had a lot going for it. What can I say? There was something else. That's what I'm trying to think of. What it was else? Oh yeah, you had either limited continues or a small amount, or no continues. So you had to really memorize the game. So it was quite challenging. Bionic Commando Elite Forces. This is basically plays like Bionic Commando for the NES or Game Boy, and with upgraded graphics, you can play as a male or a girl or a boy. There are glitches in this game. I got to one point where the map kind of freaked out on me, so I had to read about how to correct that. So be aware of that. But yeah, it's fun, just like the other Bionic Commandos. And you can't jump if you don't know about Bionic Commando. You have to use a grappling hook. Bionic Commando for Game Boy. This is basically a remake, or a port or enhancement of the NES game on Game Boy. They kind of tweaked the sprite, but it plays exactly the same. Instead of seeing Hitler at the end, you see some other guy, and you shoot and his head blows up. So, very fun. Ninja Taro. Basically a top-down Zelda game based on the Roland's Curse. They use this for some Roland's Curse games. Play as a ninja. I can't remember the story. You get items, weapons that drop during the game. Don't remember much about it. It was okay. Balloon Kid, this game's great. One thing, Balloon Fight I never got into because there was no ending to it. You just went and went and went, and I never had anybody to play with. So this is basically a balloon fight game with, instead of you scroll from right to left, and it ends, so you don't play forever. It has a story. Your brother gets kidnapped on balloons, or he has balloons and they float away, so you have to go get them. Up to about level 3, it's easy. So you want to stock up on lives. And once level 4 or 5 go, it gets really hard. And it took me quite a bit to beat, and I finally beat it on my last life. I highly recommend this game. It's on the eShop if you want a nice short game that's full of challenge. It's not impossible, though. I'm not the best, and I was able to beat it. Gargoyle's Quest. This is the first in the Gargoyle's Quest games, which is a spin-off of Ghosts and Goblins. Basically, it has some RPG elements, but you're basically just go on a map that you kind of guide each way. You get items you advance to grab on to fly longer and hover longer. The graphics are good. There's like top-down battle. You go onto the screen, talk to enemies, and it goes to a side view battle. You have to exit by beating all the enemies. Yeah, fun game. Metroid 2, this is the second time I beat this game. First time on the 3DS, and this time I beat it on the regular Game Boy. I really like Metroid 2 a lot. Once you learn how it plays, and you can explore once you beat the set number of Metroids, the map opens up, you go a little further. Very fun game. It's small enough that you don't really need a map to get through. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, The Radical Rescue. This is the third of the 3 Game Boy Turtles games, and it's completely different than the other 2. The first 2 were beat-em-up side-scrollers. This one is a Metroid exploration type game where password saves. Very tough until you learn how to play the game. You rescue a turtle in a door, get a key, beat a boss, get a key, rescue a turtle, and then you can switch between them whenever you want. They each have a different item or abilities. Like Leo can drill through blocks. Dawn can climb walls. Mikey does this. Raph does this like hover ability with his shell. Very fun game, very hard game. The boss rush at the end is very brutal. It took me quite a long time to beat. But it does start you right near the boss, and you can fill up on energy and go back. But it took me, oh man, I had to at least try this boss like 50 times to beat all through the bosses and then beat Shredder. It was tough. Batman, fun shooting game. The sprites are small, but the game is very fun. Very short. Not too challenging until the end, like a lot of games. But yeah, good music and very fun. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, Back from the Sewers. It's the second of the Game Boy games of the Turtles games on Game Boy. Basically, it's much like the first one, Radical Rescue, or the first Turtles game on Game Boy. Forget what it's called. You're on side-scrolling left to right. You have an item. You pick a turtle, and you go left to right, and foot soldiers, Mousers, and a lot of enemies drop out, and you have to use your kicks. And you have use your weapon to beat them, and you go just fight a boss and go on. Fun game. Roland's Curse, much like Ninja Taro, I think developed on the same engine by the same people. It's more of a Zelda-type fantasy instead of a Japanese fantasy. Fun, not great. Basically how this works is there's a set map, you go beat a boss, and the items you get there's temporary life increases and permanent. Temporary will just for that round. Once you beat the boss, that temporary life goes away. Permanent stays once you beat the last boss, or once you beat a boss. So you beat a boss, that closes that part. You keep any permanent life upgrades, lose any temporary, then you go to the next section of the map, do the same thing, and go to the next boss. There's like 4 or 5 of the map parts and bosses to beat. Contra: The Alien Wars, a port of Contra 3 for the Super Nintendo, only they got rid of a level or 2, and instead of crouching duck, you kind of kneel. It's cool that they were able to put most of Contra 3 on there. Not nearly as hard, you can't switch between 2 weapons, but yeah, it's fun. I think it's I want to say Factor 5 did that, the people who did the Rogue Squadron games. James Bond for 007 for the Game Boy. It's like a Zelda game. You go into dungeons, not dungeons, but places, get items to progress. Don't remember much about it, but it is pretty decent. Bonk's Adventure, the first Bonk game I ever beat now is Bonk's Adventure on the Game Boy. Very easy, but that's good. I like an easy game sometimes. You have to learn how to time Bonk's head attack, and you can actually, I didn't know this, but you can like swing your head over and over, kind of hover, so that's kind of cool. Yeah, cool game. I kind of want to play the ones on TurboGrafx next. Bonk's Revenge, the sequel to it, much more of the same. Easy too, but that's good. Whoops, and there goes my Game Boy pile. Kid Icarus of Myth and Monsters. This is much like the Kid Icarus on the, almost the carbon copy port of the one on the NES, except with much better improvements to make it more playable. If you fall when you're scrolling vertically, if you fall to the bottom of the screen, you don't die now, you just fall to the bottom of the screen. I think you get more hearts for currency. You can float in the air, which is nice, and it's just much easier overall. There's items that you keep at the end of the stage now, I think. Yeah, it's much, but from what I remember of Kid Icarus, this is a much, almost the same, except they made it much more playable and easier. Not to say Kid Icarus was not playable, but this is much easier. I recommend playing this one if you want to play like the original Kid Icarus. Ducktales, this is basically on the Game Boy. This is a port of Ducktales from the NES. That's about it. Get treasure, fun mechanic of pogo jumping on enemies, good music, fun. DuckTales 2 on the Game Boy, basically the same port of the DuckTales 2 on the NES. Fun game, good music, pogo mechanics great, and I actually do like DuckTales 2 better than DuckTales 1. I think it's a lot improved with pulling of the cane and the different items you can get is cool. I think DuckTales 2 is a better game than the NES game. DuckTales 2 is better than the first DuckTales, but I do like the first DuckTales. Castlevania Adventure. I was surprised how much I like this game. Once you get past how slow it is and difficult, once you learn the speed and you can learn how to play the game, it's quite good. The music's great, except the one level in the game that took me a while was the scrolling level, auto-scroller level with the screen scrolling up with spikes at the bottom and scrolling left with spikes on the left. And you kind of have to go through and learn exactly where to jump and how fast to go to beat this level. It took me a lot of tries to beat, but overall, Castlevania Adventure, I was surprised how much I liked it. Castlevania Legends, yeah, it's fun. It didn't stick out as anything great. I did like that you played as Sonia Belmont, the first female Belmont, and you did get sub-weapons, or did you get sub-weapons? You got seals in this game of some sort. I can't remember correctly, or the sub-weapons were something. I forget what they were, but it was kind of weird in that regard. But yeah, it's a fun game. Next up, we have Dragon Quest IV. I beat this game before on DS, and before that I beat it on NES when I was 10 or 11. And then I beat it again on NES a year ago, and then I beat it on Game Boy. No, and then I beat it on NES again last year. Yeah, I beat this game total of Dragon Quest IV about 1, 2, 3. This is my 1, 2. This is my 4th time beating it, I think. I love Dragon Quest IV. I love all the Dragon Quest games. The good thing about them is after a year or so, you can play through them, and they're just as fun. And this is a good port of Dragon Quest IV, minus the party chop not being there. Next up, for my birthday, my mom got me Dragon Quest Trilogy on the Nintendo Switch. Basically, there's nothing in here but the cartridge. This has Dragon Quest 1, Dragon Quest 2, and Dragon Quest 3, the phone ports for the Switch. And it wasn't released here in North America. It was released in the Asian region, like Korea and around there, that area. And also, this other version of it was the Korean with the English text, and there's one with that version with the English text and the version I'm talking about the cover. There's a version with the cover with the English text, there's this, and a version with the cover with the Chinese text. I have the version with the cover with the English text. Both are translated in English. I don't know why they didn't release it here. But yeah, I love Dragon Warrior 1 Dragon Warrior. Dragon Quest 1, 2, and 3. I got this for my birthday last month, even though my birthday's today. My mom asked me what I wanted. I said, hey, I had my eye on this. Get this for me. And I was able to beat through all of them in a week or two. Dragon Quest 1 is outstanding, especially on this version. It's much quicker. You get more experience, more gold, buy better gear quicker. I liked, since I haven't played, the last time I played Dragon Quest was on the, Dragon Quest 1 was on the Game Boy Color port a year or so ago. And it's cool to see the different graphic style, and the monsters are not pixels anymore. Dragon Quest 2 is, this one has grown on me. The NES port version was really tough for me, but now I knew what to expect for the Cave of Roan and where to go. Very, very fun. And Dragon Quest 3 is just as awesome as ever. One of my favorite NES games, and this version is great. They add, much like the Game Boy Color, they added a personality changing ability where your stack rows can change during the books you read. And I was just on a Dragon Quest kick. Actually, this year, I beat Dragon Quest 1, 2, and 3 on here. I beat Dragon Quest 6 again, so that's the second time I beat Dragon Quest 6. Beat Dragon Quest 5 again, that's the second time I beat that. Beat Dragon Quest 4, that's like the third or fourth time I beat that. And I'm playing through Dragon Quest 7 now for the past month. That's all I've been playing so far. I'm about 100 hours in. I'm almost unlocked all the islands. That'll be the third time this is the third time I'm playing through Dragon Quest 7. First, one on PlayStation, one on the 3DS remake. I love Dragon Quest 7. I love all the Dragon Quest games. They're all great. Yeah, that's basically it. So that's everything I played. I hope this was short enough. About 30 minutes. I'm sorry if I babbled. But that's everything I beat. I hope everybody has a great, great, great month. And I'll see you again in the next few months. Bye.